Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to the Saaghe Fogwe podcast. I hope you're ready for the show today. It's going to be a very special show. The reason it's special is because it's our 50th show. So we've actually been on the air 50 times. This thing started like a joke. Here we are. We are at the 50th episode. And I have a special person here to celebrate that 50th show with me. She's special in her way, just one of those people you meet and she just loves on you. And I call her mama. She might not have given birth to me, but she is my mama. I'm sharing her with her kids. So today, the topic today is a story of a survivor. I just felt like that was the right way to coin this and to label this topic or this show today, because this lady is really a survivor. When you hear her story today, you will see why we decided to name the topic that. I'm not going to steal the show from her, so I'm going to bring her up with no further ado. I'm going to bring up my mama my mama that I'm sharing. Her name is Miss Patricia Joy Sanders. So stand up, give her a clap, whatever you want to do. Let me bring her on. My my computer is acting up here. As you guys know, technology is not always our friend. There she is. Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you for joining the show today. I know we had talked about it and then it kind of went dead, and then finally we decided to get this show going. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we were supposed to do this in studio, but just, again, the producer has had a busy month. He's been traveling and doing what he needs to do to build his own brand. And I support him 100% for doing that. But because we have options, we have technology on our side, we're still able to do this, to have a conversation without being together in studio. Just we can still do this. Mama's at her place, I'm at my place, and we're getting this done.
Okay.
All right, welcome. So for those who don't know you, please introduce yourself to everyone. Tell us where you come from, family background, anything that somebody who meets you on the street would want to know about you. Just give us some background on you.
Well, my name is Patricia Sanders. I'm originally from East St. Louis, Illinois, which is a very small place. But there's a lot of good people who came from there, like me.
I like that.
Um, I come from a family of two brothers, and my mom was a she wasn't a single mom, because she and my dad were married and had been married for a while, but she chose to separate herself from him. So I guess I was a child from a broken home, I guess you would say. Uh, my two brothers were the oldest. Um, I was the baby, as they said, just the youngest, not the baby. I never was treated like a baby. Um, I've had a lot of interesting things that happen. I started out as a pretty much as a school teacher was part of my uh, adventures. I also was a drug counselor in a prison. Um, Worked in the what was that? I'm trying to think of what we called
It's
it,
okay. Take your time, Mama. Take your time.
where I worked in the public school system before becoming a teacher, long before becoming a teacher. And during that time was when I had some interesting things to happen. I'll put it like that. Interesting.
Mm.
What about it? Oh yeah, I was a hairdresser for 22 years. Also,
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
that's a big part of your history because that's how I met you because of your daughter who does my hair, and
Right,
and because
right.
it came from you, so that's a big part. That's a connection.
Who I never thought would do hair.
Mm.
Yeah, and because she does the new way of hair, the locks
The locks.
and whatever else that is that she does. Uh, I wasn't into that at the time I was doing hair. Uh, but I spent 22 years doing hair. So, I mean, she saw me a long time doing hair. And I guess that kind of sparked her little interest in hair.
Yeah.
Um,
Talk to us about your spiritual experiences. How that has also guided your life, like being spiritual, being a Christian, things like that, because everybody has something that guides them, right? That they stay focused on or keeps them on the path that they need to stay on. And
mhm,
you have to have that to be grounded.
right.
So talk to us about your journey spiritually and how that has guided you as a person and your family, your kids, and all
Mhm.
that.
Well, I started out as a uh, Catholic, which since I've been here, I found out that that was a very unusual thing uh, in, I guess I could say, Texas.
Mm.
Because whenever I have made mention of me growing up in Catholicism, it has always been, what? Really?
You
You?
raise some eyebrows.
Yes, because it was not looked upon here.
Hmm.
And uh, being a Black woman and being a Catholic was very unusual. A lot of questions asked, a lot of things said that I didn't understand why they said it, or, well, I kind of learned over the years why they felt the way they did. Um, because a lot of people who are Catholic uh, seem to focus on Mary more than Jesus, which Mary was Jesus' mother.
Hmm.
Uh, but people always say, why do you all pray to Mary? I say, I don't pray to Mary. I pray to Jesus. Uh, and most of my upbringing and my learning about Jesus has really been about Jesus
Hmm.
and him being who he was, and Mary being his mother. It was the same way my mother was my mother.
Hmm.
It wasn't like it was she was one person, he was another person, and they didn't have anything to do with each other. They did. But
Yeah.
he was chosen by God to be the savior, not Mary. And
Hmm.
so I never understood why the questions always came about Mary.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I grew up Presbyterian too, and there, I still, you still have a lot of questions, even during your faith. As you grow as a Christian, you still have a lot of questions. I'm a pastor's child, but I still have so many questions. So you and him could have some interesting conversations because he's done a lot of research on these things, and he might have some answers for that.
Mm-hmm.
So you and him definitely need to have a conversation. He's an encyclopedia, a human encyclopedia when it
Oh,
comes to
that's
the
interesting.
Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how were you able to stay focused with, because you've named quite a few things that you did, you know
Mm-hmm.
the different jobs that you did. How were you able to keep a balance? How we talk about work-life balance. How were
Right.
you able to take care of the kids? And make sure you tell us how many kids you have. And I know two of them at least. How many kids
Right.
you have? And then how were you able to keep a balance between raising these children and doing all these jobs that you did and still stay focused?
Well, through my faith. And even though I started out as a Catholic, as time went on, and as you say, as we grow into adulthood, I adapted. What I'm trying to say, um, not Catholicism. What is it?
Christianity.
Christianity
Christianity. Hmm.
through what is it?
Baptist.
Yeah, through the Baptist religion, and from Baptist, I also just kept journeying because I was always interested in what is life about with Jesus. What does he mean to people, and what does he mean to me in my life?
Hmm.
Well, as I continued in life, I don't know whether it was Jesus or just God Himself who said, "You want to know? I'll show you." And so, as I journeyed on, I was married twice, had two children, and that was a interesting thing for me because my children are 13 years apart. Uh, my daughter is in her 50s. My son is in his 30s. And wow, through those two things, bringing those children up, learning how to do it, figuring out how to manage this world, finances, and just taking care of children, I have experienced a lot of things. The
Hmm.
journey has not been easy, but it's been rewarding. And
Yeah.
I don't think I could have done it without God. And
Yeah.
that's one of the main things I would tell anybody.
Hmm.
And I have met quite a few people who don't believe in God, and um, but like I said, I don't see how they make it in
Yeah.
the world without it.
Yeah. That's a big thing, not having some kind of faith.
Yeah,
You really wonder. You're like, man, how do people survive without believing in it? Because if you don't have faith, what's the other thing you have? Fear.
right, right.
Yeah, because fear is, yeah, and we say fear is what? False evidence appearing real.
Right.
Yes, false evidence appearing real. If you don't have faith, and
Mhm.
once in a while, even as Christians, we get to that point where we have a little bit of fear, but we have to remind ourselves that He's got us. God's got
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
And He comes through. Like you're saying, if you didn't have faith, you wouldn't have been able to juggle, you know, being a single mother, taking care of,
Right.
you know, two kids. And it's tough.
It
It's
is.
tough
It's
raising a
really
kid.
tough.
And you know, even with you know, a partner, you still find
Hmm.
it difficult raising kids, and you still have struggles. Then imagine you do, you know, doing it by yourself. But so kudos to you. And that's why today we're celebrating you as a survivor, survivor of many things, survivor of life, survivor of being shot. So let's go right into that story about how you got shot. Yes, let's go right into that one. Tell us that story. What happened? How did this happen? And you know, how did you survive that?
Okay, that was like one of my first jobs. I worked for the Board of Education in St. Louis, Missouri, which is across the bridge from East St. Louis, where I was born and raised. Um, Simple story about a job, really. Um, Working on the job had been promoted in a sense because when I came in, I worked in a little office where I worked on computers and everything. Because when I was in school, in college, I took up computer training for a short while. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I was coached by teachers who said, "You need to go into computers. You have uh, a mind centered on mathematics." And so they thought that because I love mathematics, I would exceed in computers. Well, unlike other things, that did not work for me. But the office that I was in, they wanted to begin uh, a tracking system for how many students was in the St. Louis public schools, how many of the racial um, thing, for as how many blacks, how many whites, how many Hispanics, and whatever. And that was what I was brought into the school district for. Unfortunately, after I got in there and in this department, there was a young lady there who had an interesting background too, where she did not care for herself
Mm,
very much. I always thought that was her problem because it always seemed like she was angry about something.
mm.
And whether there was anybody else involved or it was her by herself, she was always angry. And as time went on, because I was a fun loving person
Always happy.
who always thought about being better, doing things better, getting better jobs, doing things that other people didn't want to do. And whenever they asked me, "Do you want to learn how to do this?" I will always be the first one to raise my hand. Yes. Well, that was not her thing in life.
You were getting on her nerves.
Yes. I really get on her. Plus, I was doing the hair at the same time. I would go out of town to hair shows, come back, be telling about what I saw and what I did and whatever. And she was always just looking at me like, who cares but you?
Nobody cares.
But as time went on, and I started picking up on some of the things that she would say or some of the things she would do, I started figuring out that, hmm, she's not a well she doesn't like me very much. I'll put it like
Mm-hmm.
that. And as I thought, she didn't. So she would always be talking about me to other people in the building. She thinks she's this, she thinks she's that. She thinks she's cute because she's got light eyes.
Oh, yeah,
Ne-
those eyes are the eyes are cute, Mama. Work with those eyes.
Never took that into uh, a factor. I never thought at that time. As you see now, everywhere you go, you see light-eyed black people
Mm-hmm.
or light-eyed people of any generation. I mean, any
Mm-hmm.
occupation or whatever. That was very rare during the time I was growing up, and I didn't know that she even paid that attention. But then when she would mention it, well, you just think you're something because you got green eyes, or you're light skinned and this, that, and the other. Well, that was her perception. Not my.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just did what I did and tried to do it the best I could, and tried to always to get noticed, to be promoted.
Mm.
Always wanted to exceed in school. Teachers would always tell me, "You do your homework all right. You do extra activities. You're always involved in doing something." Thought that was normal. Didn't know that it was causing me to be. Uh,
Uh, what do they call it? Being a no, not a Karen. Being the teacher's pet.
yeah, yes, being a teacher's pet,
The teacher's pet.
and and my um, supervisor at work, we got along fine. If they would ask for someone to do something, I would always be one to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I was trying to upset anyone,
Mm-hmm.
just
You
get
were
a.
just being yourself.
I was just being myself, trying to
Mm-hmm.
get ahead in life, because where I came from, it
Yeah.
was a pretty daunting place. And
Yeah. So you didn't, yeah, you wanted to stand out from your environment that you grew up in, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Yeah. So let's get to that. So the being shot, because that was our question, right? We're trying to get to
right.
how you got shot. Mm-hmm.
The young lady, she didn't care for me very much, so she talked about me a lot. Well, one day she had come in and she had told another young lady in the building um, that I had been talking about her. Um, she was getting ready to get married, and she had been talking to us as encouragement, uh, you know, uh, to, I guess, boost her uh, energy, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever you have to get married. And this young lady went back and told her that I had made some derogatory remarks about her and everything, and she didn't know why I was telling you to get married, or whatever. And I was like, what? And so I went and told the young lady that's not true. This person doesn't like me. And I didn't know that her dislike was as deep as it
Mm-hmm.
was. The next day, after I come back to work, I walked in the office, sat down at my desk. This young lady started shooting.
Oh
Shot
wow.
at me 3 times. Bullet hit me the second time. I've never been proud of this, but I always tell people what I said. I said, "Oh Lord, the bitch is trying to kill me."
So the B word came out
I wasn't completely saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost
at the time.
at that time,
Yep.
working toward that. But when that bullet hit my head,
Hmm.
got all about that.
So it hit you in your head, Mama.
Yes, hit me in
Wow.
my head. Uh, after saying all that I said, and I got up and tried to run, and my foot hit my chair, and I fell.
Mm.
Well, while I was on the floor, she came up behind me and tried to shoot me again, but the
Wow.
gun did not fire.
So she was really, I mean, she wanted to end it. Like
Right.
she was, yeah, she
Right.
was
She
really
was
wanting to
just
kill
that
you.
angry with me.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
thing it was me being me that she
Wow.
was angry with. And so uh, after that,
Mm.
after going to the hospital and being told that this would be uh, uh, what you call it when you go to the courts and everything would be brought out in uh,
What were they trying to give her a restraining order or something like that? Did she?
no, I
No.
wanted her to be put in jail.
Ah.
Didn't want nothing to be asked or what, but we had to go through court and we
Yeah,
went,
the whole system. Hmm.
yeah, 3 or 4 times, and she was found not guilty.
Really?
The reason why she was found not guilty because had she been found guilty of what she did, the Board of Education would have been guilty of hiring her and letting her stay as long as she did and keep up as much confusion as she did. Because it wasn't just me that she did not like. There was
Hmm.
others. I was just the closest one to her and
Hmm.
aggravated her the most, I guess.
Wow.
And so she took it out on me. Uh,
Wow.
how did you survive that? Okay. And surviving it well, how did it not? Took a lot to survive.
Yeah.
Gunshot wound to my
Hmm.
head.
Hmm.
What caused you to survive it? Okay. The, part of the reason I survived it was because I was one of those type of people who love hair. That's why I went into hair. But I always found different ways to wear my hair and whatever. So I had my hair in a updo kind of style, and I had a comb in my hair, and the bullet hit the comb, which
Wow.
helped because it kept it from going directly into my
Hmm.
head and went in and came out.
Wow.
So, uh, but I still think that was God because
Yeah.
that day I had not planned on going to work. I was
Wow.
not going to work because I did not want to be bothered with her and the things that have been going on with her chit chatting and using my name and telling
Hmm.
lies about me. And since I decided to go to work and I had combed my hair in this way and put this comb in my head, and the bullet hitting the comb, I felt like that was God.
God. Yeah, it was a God thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
help.
it had to be.
Right.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that was an
Wow.
interesting thing,
Yeah.
and it projected me into wanting to work at home more because I had my beauty shop in my home, and once I started working outside the home and something like that happened, I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I think I can go back home and work.
Yeah. Yeah. So after that, you worked from home.
Yes. Thought I would work at home. My daughter was about 10 years old in uh, school every day. And so I made up my mind I would stay at home and
Hmm.
take care of her while she's.
Yeah. Which is something you can't ever that's something that most parents wish they could do, be stay-home moms and or work from home and take care of their kids. Some of us, we haven't had that luxury to do that, and we regret it once in a while that we never had the opportunity
I,
to be stay-home moms. Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
another thing that you survived was a tumor.
right.
You survived a tumor. Let's hear that story.
Okay.
What kind of tumor
Well,
it was
that was like about 20, maybe 20 years later.
after the gunshot.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that I had the tumor. And I had moved from Illinois to Texas then
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, oh, it's time to go, need a new place, whatever. And I came here and I met a very interesting doctor who became my OBGYN.
Mm-hmm.
And we hit it off so well that she kind of just took care of me. Now, prior to this, I had had another child. I had been married again and had another child. And he was like um, 13 years after my daughter. So it was like a whole new life. It's
Mm-hmm.
time
Starting
for
all over.
me. Yeah. Um, and unfortunately, I had started teaching. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. Fortunately, I had started teaching here in Arlington um, because that was something I always wanted to do was to educate other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because I had been a hairdresser for 20 something years, I had learned quite a bit, but I wanted to teach children other ways of surviving
Yeah.
in this world. And so I had started doing that when I met the doctor. Well, after I had started teaching, excuse me, I went to work, and one day, one of my students, because I was working with special needs kids,
Mm-hmm.
love special needs kids, and the the little girl was having one of her. It wasn't a seizure. It was just uh, a bad day, I'll say. And she pushed me in the lunchroom, and I fell against the table, and I started feeling real bad. It felt like all energy drained from my body.
Mm.
Well, I knew I had been having this growth, which I didn't know what it was. And that caused me to go. to the hospital to have it checked out. Well, when I went, they said it was a tumor.
Hmm.
And I say, a tumor? Wow, how could I have a tumor? I'm under doctor's care and it had never been diagnosed. Well, after that, and I went to the doctor, the one that I said she was such a jewel for me.
Yeah.
When she checked me out and everything, she found that the tumor was 22 pounds.
Wow.
So she said, you're immediately going to the hospital. So the next week, I had the surgery where she removed the tumor and they found out that it was cancerous and that it was 22 pounds. And,
Wow.
and from there, I went through another
Yeah. Survived another.
time in my life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and you're here to tell the story. I mean, the reason we're doing this is because we're talking about these things that happened to you, but you're still here. You're still smiling. You're still able to have a sense of humor. You interact with people. Your brain is still here, even after being shot, even after going through this. And that's not even the end of it. You had when I've met you, you've had about how many strokes? You've had,
three,
yeah,
maybe
three
four.
strokes that I know of, that you've had. So yeah, talk to us about that, because the reason we really have to have this conversation is because we have people out there who have one or two challenges in their life and they want to give up on life already. They just throw their hands in the air. It's over. Oh, I can't do this. I can't, they want to
Right.
give up. So
Mhm.
this story that you're telling today is going to encourage somebody to know that your life doesn't suck as you think. It's not the end of the world. You can
No,
keep going, because if this woman can sit here and tell us a story about being shot and she survives it, going through a cancerous tumor and surviving it, and then now telling us a story about multiple strokes that she's had, um, girl, boy, whoever you are, it's okay, right? So
yeah.
tell us about the strokes.
Okay. Now I began having strokes. Um, I was still teaching, and I in the um what I'm trying to think of in trying to be a teacher or being a teacher,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that people don't realize. I hear people say things like, these teachers, they don't teach the kids, they don't know, they just fuss at the kids this, that, and the other, but they don't know. To be a teacher, you've had to go through that yourself. And you have to have patience and understanding and caring for the students in order to give
Mhm.
your life to them. And because of that, I was engaged in being a teacher just as I was being a hairdresser or being a counselor,
Mhm.
which I kind of skipped over that, but I'll go back to
It's
that.
okay.
But um, one day I was on my way to a training for teaching, and I noticed that I was on the other side of the street. I was driving down the street in the correct lane, and then the next thing I know, I was on the other side of
The
the
other
street,
side.
and I was wondering what happened. I was driving fine, I thought. Well, as time went on, I started noticing those kind of little things happening. And one day at after school, I picked up my phone off the desk, and when I picked it up and said hello, it sounded like an echo. And I said, what is that? And as I talked to the lady on the phone, I started sounding like uh, an animal.
Hmm.
It sounded as if I was saying, "Who are you? Who is this?" And I was like, "What is wrong with me?" All of a sudden. So I went across the hall and asked the lady across the hall, "Do I sound funny to you?" She said, "No, you sound like yourself."
Hmm.
I said, "Do I look funny to you?" Because I felt funny too. She said, "No, you look all right." So then I said, "Well, I'm going home because I don't understand what's going on." So that made me start investigating what's wrong. I've had these things that happened to me before. Now, here I am, I think maybe 50 years old and beginning to have something else going on with me.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "You've had a stroke."
Wow.
And that's why your language sounds different and you feel different because you
Mm-hmm.
had a stroke. That started another series of things from
When was this? What year was this?
2008.
2008. Okay.
Mhm.
Wow.
And that's when I retired from being a school teacher because I said, if I don't know what's going on with me, how can I help these children?
Mm-hmm.
And so I retired. And after that, I started having strokes. I had maybe three strokes back to back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And being in the hospital, out of the hospital, in the hospital, out of the hospital, stroke, out of the hospital, stroke, in the hospital. And I was like, okay, Lord. Then while I was going through this, one of my doctors discovered that some of the shrapnel from when I had been shot was still in my head.
Wow.
That was a surprise to me. And he was the one when I said, he said, "When are you going back to work?" And I told him I didn't want to go back. And he said, "Why? You're still young." I said, "Yeah, but my health is not good enough
Mm-hmm.
for
Yep.
me to continue to help children."
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I can understand that." He said, "And you still have scrap, scrap, how you say it?
Shrapnel.
Shrapnel in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that from?" And I said, "When I was shot." He had not known that I had been
Mm-hmm.
shot.
So it wasn't in your medical record then?
No. And I
Mm-hmm.
had to explain that to him
Mm-hmm.
because he was like, "And now you're having strokes
Yeah.
and you know,
Yeah.
I
But
had
they don't think it was related though? They don't think they had any relationship with the
I
residue
I,
from
I
being
never
shot?
I never found out because it was never investigated. Uh, I thought so because I thought
Yeah.
I had what they call it, what you call it, uh, t- uh, when you have
TIA?
the trouble from having. like the guys in
Dementia.
the military.
Oh, PTSD.
Yes,
PTSD.
yes,
PTSD.
yes. I thought I had PTSD from it, and could have, and it
Yeah,
just
it's
never
possible.
was uh, said. But
Yeah,
all through what I've been through, I can't do anything but thank God.
exactly. Yeah, and that's why we're here today. We're thanking him because you wouldn't be sitting here telling the story, right? We would be talking about you in the past tense. We would be
Right,
talking about you, or you wouldn't even be able to verbalize the story, but you're still able to carry out a conversation, talk on this show. I wasn't sure we would even have a 30-minute show, but we're at 45 minutes right now. And so it's like yeah, it's amazing just watching you. But I think we might need to have a part two, to your story, because this is something that we need to really document, because the things that happen in our lives, we don't document it, we don't put it down, and then years from now, great 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 grandkids will need to
right,
hear these things, and then somebody will try to tell the story, they'll water it down, they might miss some information here and there, but we're here sitting and hearing it from your mouth. So
right.
it's amazing to hear this, and I'm really honored to be part of this story and to be part of documenting your story. And we have to all keep doing this with our parents, our siblings, our family members, to document things while people are here.
Yes,
But I want you to speak to young people right now, the young people who think that their health is going to be good forever. They're going to be good forever. They don't take health, because I'm here speaking to you in capacities, right? I'm a healthcare professional, I'm a nurse practitioner, I'm also a wealth care professional, so these two worlds always come together. And the health part, when I sit and I talk to patients who are very nonchalant about their health, they don't
hmm,
care, or I can eat whatever I want, and still keep my figure, but they don't know that years from now something's going to happen. There'll be an effect from what you're eating today down
right.
the road, or it's going to affect your heart, it will affect your lungs, it will affect your respiratory system or something. Speak to those people who are taking their health lightly, and not making it, not putting a lot of focus on it. Speak to them, please.
Okay. Well, I've always been a kind of health care person too. I've always believed in eating right, um, since I was in Illinois. By the time I had moved to Texas, I never ate beef and pork. Those things had been taken out of my diet because I didn't feel good about the effects when I would eat them. Um, I tried to eat healthy. Back in the day, people don't realize blacks weren't exposed to a lot of health healthy foods. We ate a lot, and we ate a lot of cooked foods, but we didn't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables.
Hmm.
And when I was growing up, in when I became an adult, I started venturing that way because I felt like it was necessary. Plus, my children needed fruits and vegetables.
Hmm.
And even though the vegetables was a part of our lifestyle, the fruit wasn't. I tell my daughter now, she buys a lot of fruit and we eat a lot of fruit.
Hmm.
And she say, well, how come you didn't eat a lot of fruit? I said, because we lived in an environment in Illinois, it was cold, cold in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
and hot in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So you ate according to
The
the
season.
the seasons. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said I grew up that way. I didn't eat a lot of fruit in the wintertime because we didn't have a lot of fruit in the winter. I didn't eat a lot of uh, cake and stuff like that, and like the kids eat now. They eat a lot of everything all the time.
All the time. Mm-hmm. You stock up and they're just eating, snacking
Right,
every minute.
right. And then when it comes to eating fresh vegetables, and they don't want that and things like that. And we have to encourage them to eat it. Well, back in the day, that's what you ate. At least in my generation, I
Mm-hmm.
what we ate. And so the young people now take life kind of haphazardly. I'm going to eat this. It's going to be good. I'm going to eat as much as I can, as long as I can.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's hurting your body
Mm-hmm.
to do those things.
Yeah.
Uh, I've been through a lot. And like I said, I thank God for what I've come through. And a lot of it was because I believed in God and I
Mm-hmm.
prayed and asked for knowledge and wisdom to do the things that I have,
Yeah. Yes.
and to avoid some of the things that I probably had missed. God kept me from being harmed by. And that
Mm-hmm.
eating correctly, eating
Yeah.
the right foods at the right times, and not always wanting uh, a lot of junk food.
Yeah.
We didn't
Mm-hmm.
even have a lot of junk food. If you take a trip to what's the store, uh, uh, hmm, can't even think of it right now. The hmm, I can't even think of it.
It's okay.
But anyway, it's the store that reminds you of back when we were growing up. Um, they have the little candies and things in there that, but they cook good food. Um, and one of my favorite places to eat. Um, and then get some of the things that's left over. Where is it? Uh, Golden Corral.
Golden Corral. Oh yeah.
Golden Corral has
We used to think that was all and all that you could go to, eat
right.
everything.
It
Mm-hmm.
has all the things that kids were brought up on
Yes.
back
And you
in
just
the
want to
day.
stay there all day eating
Right,
everything.
right,
Mm-hmm.
right. But the kids now eat so much of that stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah. There's
it's
no discipline. There's no discipline with food,
right.
like food choices, and and things like that. But thank you. I really wanted you to do that shout out to to the kids, just so they can listen. Not just kids, young people. We're not talking about just
You're
kids,
right.
right? Because even after, because kids, the parents can still kind of guide them. But
Mm,
then when they start getting to their 20s, their 30s, they're the ones going to
mm,
get food on their own and making those choices. And the ones who live on their own, you can't go to their house to tell them what they're going to cook or what they'll buy and all that.
right.
So we have to keep having these conversations to keep reminding people, because we have people like you who have survived a lot, and you're here to tell the story and to caution us. So we have to be listening to you, to hear from you. But before we round up here, because I know I wanted to keep it right at an hour or less. That way people don't get bored and start dropping off, or
Right.
changing the channel. But I wanted one thing. I mean, this month is September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. So there's some. I wanted to tie this into that without, like I said, being a financial professional. I'll always bring it back home because I have patients who have to make a decision between their health, like buying their medication and
Mm,
paying bills, but they don't think that it's necessary for them to protect their lives because they minimize the fact that life insurance is not important,
mm,
um, because of the notion that we grew up with, that you have
right.
to die to
Mm,
benefit from life insurance. But your story is one of those that, yes, you survived, you went through all of this and you survived it, but someone who has the right protection for themselves could literally, it would make a difference how they survive something like what you survived. Like someone who has a stroke and they have the right protection,
mm,
that protection can help them while they're going through rehab, going
right.
through this rehabilitation, and then actually getting back to their regular life if they plan to go back to work,
Mm-hmm.
where it doesn't change your house situation. You still can pay your mortgage, you still can pay your bills and things like that. So this story is it's not unique because we have a lot of people who go through this, but not everybody can
Right.
sit here and tell their story. So please just speak on that and tell us how different it would have been if you had the right protection in place. I know you might have had something that covered you, but if you had the right protection, tell me how different it would have been.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't have had to search so hard because being in a different place caused me to have some problems along the way because Illinois and Texas are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And searching for the right health care because once I started having the strokes and everything, and they started looking at my history and saying, you've had this and that, and this and that, and this could have affected that, and this could have affected
Mm-hmm.
that. And I had to have some of the better health care, which as a teacher, I was able to afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was under the healthcare system of teachers, um, huh,
Teacher retirement system.
the teacher retirement system.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get health care where I was able to do a lot of therapy. I've had
Yeah.
therapy forever. It seems like I never stopped with therapy. I,
Mm-hmm.
I get okay, and then something else happens, and then I have to go back and take therapy.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not under a good health care system,
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to help you
Yeah.
go through those things and have um, uh,
Services.
mhm,
Services.
Yeah,
service
like the additional services. Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And we need them. We need to um, read books that are designed to help us. When I first had my first stroke, and uh, there was a lady that I met who had a stroke, and she had been debilitated on her whole body. She was
Wow.
able to walk. She was not able to write anymore. But because she had been under a good health care system,
Mm-hmm.
she was able to get therapy for that.
Yeah.
And she told me about it, then that's when I got to the point where I said, well, as long as I'm going to live, I'm going to have health care.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started researching and getting the best health care I could get for
Yeah.
myself because I
Mm-hmm.
did not know what would come up. Those things that happened to me, I had no idea that I
Yeah.
would ever be affected by 'em.
And no one plans on it, right? It happens because people say, God forbid, oh, God forbid, that's not going to happen to me. You never
Right,
know.
right,
Well, yeah, you never know when it's going to happen. And the thing is, when it happens, are you ready? Do you have the right protection? Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
it. To
Yeah.
have the right protection
Yeah.
at the right time for what you
Hmm.
need.
And when you're younger, because when we're getting older, it's more expensive to get protection now. We try to, you try to run, your premium numbers when you're even 2 years older than you were, and it's
Right.
more expensive than it was 2 years ago.
It,
So
it,
age plays a big factor
a
into it.
very
So
big factor.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So any final words, Mama, and shout outs to any specific family members, any friends, any particular shout outs? I know you might forget some people, but they'll get mad, but that's okay.
Well, I have to say they know who I am. But I would just like to say I'm 72 years old and I've been through all of this. I think, and I say this a lot to people, that God has kept me here for me to help other people. That was why I was a teacher. Uh, that was why I worked in the prison as a uh, counselor to
Hmm.
drug addicts and alcoholics and people who had committed all kinds of crime. Um, I guess that's the reason why I had the tumors
Hmm.
and to help me study those things to help other people. Because when I was going through having the tumors and having um, the strokes, I met a lot of people who didn't believe in research,
Yeah.
researching and reading about things and discovering things that could happen to you. So I'm glad I did. Glad God has blessed me to be here as long as I have and be able to tell my story.
Amen. Yep. Yes, ma'am. We appreciate you. I mean, if anybody didn't get anything out of this, I'm sorry for them. They need to wake up from the back of the class. Because this has been very educational. This has been very informative. This is a story that, not everybody will have the privilege of telling. Being here to tell that story, I feel very privileged to be the one interviewing you for you to tell the story. I feel like the special kid. Sorry, Reiko and Casey. I'm the special kid. She likes me better. I'm the one who gets to interview you and to start up this series because we're going to have to keep you telling the story in different parts so we can record
Right.
it and get it on, get it documented. But I want
Right.
to thank you so much for taking the time
So
to go
welcome.
through your story and to remember these things, even, with a smile on your face and not, no regrets for your life, no remorse. You lived your best life and you're still
Right.
living your best life, and I get to share that with you and your grandkids, and they're lucky to have you around to tell them these stories. So I do really appreciate you and hope that we'll do this again and have another conversation. But thank you, and keep
All
keep
right.
doing you. Keep being you. You can't be anybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to the family for letting me share her, and and share her with the world, because this story is gonna go far. We're gonna share this link. We'll share the video, and just so people can listen to this and learn from it. But thank you so much, and until next time, guys. Thank you for watching the Saaghe Fogwe podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and follow us, and just stay tuned for more interesting shows like this one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.